Hello and welcome to a look at Darkmere for the Amiga, a game that was developed by Zero Hour and released by Core Design. The background for this game is quite elaborate and I will try to condense it as much as I can while still being respectful of the material. The human village called Pont Uguaith is a peaceful, quiet village which suddenly finds itself under attack from a dragon. As you can likely imagine, the villagers are very ill equipped for dealing with such a creature and they are getting decimated on a daily basis. A nearby elven settlement watches on but decides to do nothing because they don't want to interfere with human matters. One young elf, though, called Gildorn, has befriended a mage called Malthar and as such has learned of the human ways. And he is encouraged by Malthar to appeal to the elven elders to interfere on the humans' behalf. The elven elders refuses outright, and as Gildon press the issue, he is warned that if he interferes, he will be banished from the elven lands for the rest of his life. But Gildon is not one for just letting things go by, so he grabs his sword and shield and go looking for the dragon with Malthar in tow. Eventually locating the dragon in its cave, he fights it and slays it, but nearly dies in the process. Upon returning to the human village, he helps them rebuild, and in gratitude and admiration for his bravery and kindness, the humans elect him king of the local area. As the years pass, everyone's happy, except for the king. Being of elvish heritage, while he has the company of the humans, he still feels very lonely. As luck would have it, an elven woman is found wandering aimlessly, and she's in the awkward position of having forgotten everything except for her own name. The king offers her shelter, and as time goes on, he eventually falls in love with her and they get married. It's a great celebration for everyone, and now the king is as happy as the villagers, which is a good thing. The queen becomes pregnant, and as is common for elves to do in this particular game world, she goes deep into the forest to give birth to her child. Days pass and no one's heard a word from the queen, so the king decides to go looking for her. Deep in a glade in the forest, he finds a baby, and there's a certain amount of surprise to the fact that the baby has managed to survive by itself, because there's no sign of the queen, and from that day henceforth, no word is heard from the queen. So the king returns to the village with his son in his arms, and over the years he goes into a state of despair, basically being broken-hearted over having lost his beautiful queen. Unfortunately, unsavory individuals, murderers and thieves, and even orcs start taking advantage of the fact that the king has basically retired, and the area is crawling with misfits like that. And later on, a mist of shadow creeps over the land, engulfing the village, and that has been named the Darkmere, which of course is the title of the game. The king, finally realizing that something needs to be done, also realized that he's getting too old to be the one to do something about it, so he tells his son, Ebrin, that he needs to go to the village of Pont Graith and seek out the mage Malthar in hope that he can help solve the mystery behind the Darkmere. As the game starts, you, in the role of the king's son Ebron, has just arrived at the village, and the first thing you are told by the gatekeeper is that you cannot leave without a password. So you can likely gather that the first order of the day is to look for such a thing. You navigate through the city, and as you do so, there will be numerous different items that you can examine and interact with, and there will also be people to talk to. When you talk to people, you will initially only have a few subjects you can talk to them about, but as you speak to other people, you will get more words added to your phrase list, and you are encouraged by the game to go back to previously spoken to NPCs when you get new subjects to see if further subjects are added to your phrase list. As you enter a screen, you will find it very easy to see if there are objects of potential interest, and you have a menu you can enter which will give you various different options. You can search the area, you can examine items in the area, and you can pick up stuff. And if there's an NPC on the screen, you can speak to them. It's called a question, but it is just speaking to them. You will find various different items such as bones, which you can examine, bottles, diaries, skulls, and so on. And most items have to be examined in order to identify what they do or what they potentially do, because certain items, mainly potions, have no labels on them. So it is up to you whether you decide to drink such an unlabeled potion, because you never know, something interesting could happen. There are also various different weapons you can pick up, but they are mainly for show, because you have your father's sword in hand, and you will never replace that weapon. You will basically never replace anything, but you will add items to your inventory, food items, drink items, potions doing various positive things, and as I was saying, unlabeled potions which may or may not do something unpleasant. You'll also find various different keys, which some of them are just chest keys and will open chests, which is hardly surprising, but you will also have keys belonging to a certain door in a certain street. And by finding that street and finding the correct door, you can use the keys to unlock the house building thing and enter it and search through it and fight off monsters and find new diaries, skulls, and stuff like that. The sword you are carrying is Elvish Make, and as we have all been taught over the years, Elvish weapons will glow when baddies are afoot, and you will get a very brief warning that orcs are nearby when you enter into a new screen, and one such is present. So you will have to fight off the orc, or it could be a dragon, it could be a rat, or it could be something else, in order to progress. And while you can eat or drink to restore your health, the sword is of an interesting kind because it is fueled by the life force of evil, meaning that when you do damage to evil creatures, you will restore some of your health. But if you should go about and start smacking good people or whatever else they might be, the sword will drain health from you. So the game highly encourages you to not smack, not attacking enemies about with your big nasty sword. I'm deliberately being a bit vague when it comes to the gameplay because it is what makes this game special is the experience of the gameplay more so than anything else. But let us touch on the technical side of things. The graphics are exceptional. That is the only word that does the graphics and it justice. To me, it feels like it's been very heavily inspired by the Bitmap Brothers game Cadaver, a title I haven't covered yet, but I intend to at some point. And that is due to the fact that the level of detail and the quality of the details is incredibly high. No matter how minute the detail might be, it is easily identifiable, and the graphical style overall sets an incredible atmosphere and mood that suits the game exceptionally well. Sound effects are what you would hope them to be. Sounds of the sword swinging and slashing and hitting and hurting and guns and all that kind of stuff. The dominant sound you will hear when you are walking about in the city is the wind howl, which may or may not get old after a while because it is a relatively short sound effect that is on constant loop. The title music, again, is of a very, very high quality and it sets the mood and the tone and the style very, very well. And as such, overall, the sound quality I find to be very, very high. The game can be played using the joystick or the keyboard. And if you're using a joystick, you will find that left, right, up, down will do those kind of things. And when there's a monster on the screen, using the fire button and a direction will cause you to do a slash, a swing, a overhead chop, or a defensive posture. When there's no monster on the screen, you use the fire button to access the search menu. But for some bizarre reason, a 1 second delay has been added when using the fire button to access the menu, which doesn't make any sense to me because the fire button has no other use. Alternatively, you can use the spacebar or the enter key to do exactly the same, and those two keys will do it instantly. This game has been rated very, very highly by quite a few people, and while I can easily understand why the high rating has been given, in the interest of fairness, I also have to admit that I can easily see why certain people would find this particular title completely and utterly overrated. The gameplay involves you looking for items, examining items, speaking to people, backtracking in order to speak to other people because you've gained new phrases, going through various different locations and searching through them for clues and story tidbits and that kind of stuff. And while there is combat in the game, it feels like it was dropped in because the game needed some action and it is not particularly well fleshed out and feels a bit boring, to be honest. So, if the story element of this game and the experience of playing this game doesn't grip you, the game offers very little. But even if you do like the game and gameplay style, there is a pain point that has to be mentioned, which is load times. If you play this game on a block standard Amiga 500 with 1 meg of memory and 1 floppy drive, the load times could likely get the better of you. Every screen has to be loaded, and entering a brand new location like entering a building calls for some excruciatingly long load times, and even with a lot of patience, you will be hard pressed to find enjoyment out of the constant delays in the gameplay. Having a slightly faster Amiga automatically means that the computer will process the data quicker and as such will improve the load times. But ideally, in order to fully enjoy this game, you would want to get access to the WHD load files that will transfer the disk onto a hard drive so you can play it that way. Personally, I found the story interesting, even though the writing is a bit heavy and a bit clunky and a bit clumsy. But I definitely personally want to see how the story goes and will likely play this game further at a later point. Technically very, very impressive, but those load times are not going to be for everyone. On that note, thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye for now.